Ryan's ship shook as it entered the strange planet's atmosphere. Warning lights flashed across the console, and the sound of metal groaning filled the small cabin. He had no choice but to land. The engines were damaged after a meteor storm, and if he kept flying, the ship would fall apart in the sky. He guided it down carefully, gripping the controls with steady hands. The ship scraped across the rough ground before stopping at the edge of a wide valley. When silence returned, Ryan sat back in his chair and let out a long breath. The outside world looked quiet but wild. The sky was a pale silver, and tall crystal-like trees stood where forests should have been. Strange glowing plants dotted the land, and the ground shimmered as if the soil itself had light inside it. He had traveled to many planets, but this one felt different, almost alive. He strapped on his survival pack and stepped out of the hatch. The air was thinner than Earth's, but breathable. The wind carried a faint hum like music hidden in the air. Ryan adjusted his scanner, searching for energy sources. His ship needed repairs, and he would not last long without finding fuel or power. As he walked through the valley, he felt the sense of being watched. His training told him not to ignore such instincts. He stopped and slowly scanned the area. At first, nothing moved. Then he noticed a figure standing between the tall crystal trees. The figure stepped forward with calm authority. It was not human. The alien wore silver-blue robes that reflected the light of the sky. Her features were sharp and elegant, her skin faintly glowing like moonlight. A crown-like band rested on her forehead, and her eyes shone with a strange violet hue. She carried herself with the confidence of someone used to command. She raised her hand in a firm gesture. Her voice was steady, carrying strength even in the strange language that the translator in Ryan's helmet worked hard to understand. The words became clear a moment later. "One more step, human, and you will regret it." Ryan froze. He kept his hands visible and open, showing no weapon. He knew first contact was always fragile. One mistake could turn into disaster. "I mean no harm," he said, his voice calm. "My ship was damaged. I only need to find power to repair it. I am not here to fight." The alien princess, though Ryan did not yet know her name, kept her hand raised. She looked at him with narrowed eyes as if weighing his soul. "Humans are known to break worlds," she said coldly. "Your kind always takes, never gives. Why should I let you step any closer?" Ryan felt the tension grow thicker in the air. He could see guards now, stepping out from behind the crystal trees. They carried long weapons that hummed with energy. Clearly, this woman was important. Her posture, her crown, and the way the guards waited for her command told him she was no ordinary person. She was someone with authority, someone born to lead. He slowly nodded. "I cannot speak for all humans, but I can speak for myself. I only want to survive. If you allow, I will fix my ship and leave your world in peace." The princess lowered her eyes slightly but did not move her hand. She studied him, searching for lies. The silence stretched, broken only by the hum of the alien weapons. Finally, she spoke again. "Your words are easy. Trust is not. One mistake, human, and this ground will become your grave." Ryan met her gaze without fear. He had seen commanders, kings, and generals across the stars. But there was something unique in this princess. Her presence was both beautiful and sharp, like a blade of light. He knew she would not be fooled by weak promises. "Then I will prove myself," he said simply, not with words but with action. For the first time, the faintest flicker of surprise crossed her face. The princess lowered her hand slightly, though her guards did not relax. She turned her head to one of them, speaking in her language. The words did not fully translate, but Ryan guessed she was ordering them to keep watch. Then she looked back at him. "You will not move freely. If you seek resources, you will do so under my eyes. One step beyond my command and you will regret it." Ryan gave a small nod. "That is fair." She turned with regal grace, her robes flowing like liquid silver. The guards surrounded Ryan, keeping their weapons ready. He walked with them, aware of every sharp gaze on his back. As they moved deeper into the valley, Ryan realized this encounter was more than survival. The princess's words carried the weight of history, of distrust between her people and his kind. If he failed to earn even a fragment of her trust, he would not leave this world alive. And yet, deep in his heart, he felt something unusual. He was not afraid. Instead, he was curious. The princess had raised her hand against him, but her strength did not seem cruel. It felt like a shield for her people. And that meant she was not an enemy by nature. She was a leader defending her home. For Ryan, this was not the end of his journey. It was only the beginning. The path through the crystal forest was silent except for the soft crunch of steps on glowing soil. Ryan walked between two guards, their weapons humming close to his arms. The princess walked ahead with her head held high, her robes brushing against the tall grass that sparkled faintly under the pale sky. Ryan kept his eyes forward. He had been in dangerous places before, but never like this. Every move of the guards reminded him he was seen as an intruder. Still, he felt no anger. He understood. To them, he was just another human stepping onto their land. The group reached a clearing where tall crystal towers rose like pillars. Between them stood tents made of silver cloth that rippled without wind. Many aliens gathered, their glowing skin catching the light. Their eyes turned toward Ryan with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. Children peeked out from behind their parents, whispering softly, while warriors stood ready, hands near their weapons. The princess raised her hand, and the crowd grew quiet. She spoke in her language first, her voice ringing strong and clear. The translator in Ryan's helmet struggled but managed to form broken words. He caught enough to know she was telling them who he was and warning them to keep watch. When she finished, she turned to him. "You stand in the camp of my people. You will speak human and we will judge your truth." Ryan looked at the crowd. Their faces showed no kindness. But he stood straight, keeping his voice steady. "I came here by accident. My ship is broken. I need power and material to repair it. If I can do that, I will leave. I do not wish to harm you." A murmur spread through the aliens. Some looked doubtful, others angry. One elder stepped forward, his silver beard glowing faintly. "Your kind never comes by accident," he said. "Humans are wanderers who take stars as if they are stones. Why should we believe you are different?" Ryan met the elder's gaze. "Because I do not carry armies. I do not carry weapons meant to conquer. I came alone and I stand alone. If I wanted war, I would not be speaking here." The elder frowned but did not reply. The princess studied Ryan with sharp eyes. She could see he did not bend easily, yet she did not let down her guard. "You speak well," she said, "but words are light in the wind. They vanish. What proves your heart is not filled with lies?" Ryan paused. He thought of Earth, of the countless leaders who had broken promises across the stars. He could not erase their history. All he had were his actions. "I cannot change what you believe of humans," he said. "I can only show who I am through what I do." For the first time, the princess's lips curved into the hint of a smile, though it held no warmth. "Then we shall see. Until then, you remain under guard." The guards guided Ryan to the edge of the camp where a small crystal post was set into the ground. They told him to stay within its light. The space was not a prison, but it was not freedom either. He was a guest, yet also a prisoner of suspicion. As the evening fell, the camp lit with soft silver fire. The air filled with the hum of alien songs, deep and steady like the sound of flowing rivers. Ryan sat quietly watching. He noticed how the princess moved among her people, listening to them, answering their questions. She was not only a ruler but also a shield. Her presence gave them strength. Still, she kept her eyes on him from a distance. He could feel it. She wanted to know what kind of human he truly was. Later that night, a guard brought him food, strange fruit with glowing skin. It was sweet and sharp at the same time. Ryan ate slowly, feeling eyes still watching him from across the camp. As he rested, he thought about the divide between them. To the aliens, humans were greedy wanderers. To humans, aliens were often seen as obstacles or mysteries to be studied. Neither side trusted the other. It would take more than words to bridge that distance. He leaned back against the crystal post and looked at the silver sky. He knew he could not simply wait for trust to appear. He would have to earn it piece by piece through action. The princess had raised her hand against him, but he felt her strength was not meant to destroy. It was meant to protect. That gave him hope. Far across the camp, the princess stood with the elder. Their voices were low, but Ryan's helmet caught fragments of the words. "He will bring trouble," the elder warned. "Humans always do," the princess replied with calm firmness. "Perhaps, but he is not like the others I have heard of. His eyes hold no hunger for power. I will test him. If he fails, we will end him. If he succeeds, we may learn more." The elder bowed slightly and stepped away. Alone, the princess looked toward the faint glow where Ryan sat. Her violet eyes narrowed as thoughts stirred within her. She had seen humans only in records and stories, always painted as dangerous. Yet this one stood differently. He spoke with honesty even when surrounded by enemies. She could not yet decide if that made him brave or simply foolish. The divide between them remained wide. But both knew the days ahead would decide if it could ever be crossed. The next morning, soft light spread across the valley. The crystal trees shone as if they carried pieces of the sun inside them. Ryan woke with a stiff back from resting against the glowing post. Around him, the camp was already alive. Warriors sharpened their weapons, children carried baskets of glowing fruit, and the elders spoke quietly while pointing at the horizon. The princess appeared soon after. She moved with the same grace as before, her silver-blue robes flowing lightly with each step. The guards followed her closely, but it was clear she did not need them to command respect. Wherever she walked, the people bowed their heads. She stopped near Ryan, her violet eyes sharp. "Human," she said firmly, "today you will show us if your words are worth hearing. There is work to be done, and you will try to do it." Ryan stood. "Tell me what you need." She pointed toward the far end of the camp. A large device stood there made of crystal and metal, its surface cracked and sparking faintly with failing energy. The air around it trembled as if the machine struggled to breathe. "That is our heartstone," the princess explained. "It gives light to the camp, heat to our tents, and power to our defenses. It weakens, and our healers cannot restore it. If you can mend it, perhaps your words carry truth. If you fail, then you are only what we feared." The crowd gathered quickly, whispers spreading like wind. A human touching their sacred device was unthinkable, but curiosity kept them watching. Ryan approached the machine carefully. His scanner hummed as he studied it. The design was unlike anything from Earth, yet he could see the logic inside it. Crystals acted as energy conduits while metal bands controlled the flow. The main core was fractured, causing energy to leak in unstable bursts. He turned back to the princess. "I can try, but I will need tools from my ship." The guards stiffened, ready to deny him. The princess raised her hand, silencing them. "You will not walk alone. My guards will watch every move. If you dare touch anything beyond what is needed, you will not breathe again." Ryan nodded. "That is fair." With 2 guards by his side, he walked back to his ship. Inside, he gathered a repair kit, basic tools, fusion patches, and stabilizers. As he carried them back, the guards watched his every motion, their eyes never leaving him. At the machine, he knelt and began his work. His hands moved with calm precision, cleaning the fractured lines and securing the cracks with stabilizers. He inserted small fusion patches, guiding them to seal the broken channels of energy. The machine resisted at first, pulsing wildly, but Ryan adjusted carefully, speaking to himself in quiet tones as he worked. The crowd leaned forward, whispering. The princess stood with arms crossed, her face unreadable, though her eyes never left his hands. After long minutes, the sparks lessened. The tremble in the air softened. Ryan adjusted the last stabilizer and tapped the control band. The machine pulsed once, then steadied. A wave of soft light spread through the camp, filling every tent and crystal pillar with renewed glow. Gasps rose from the crowd. Children laughed and pointed as the silver flames in their homes brightened again. Elders looked at each other with surprise. Ryan stood slowly, wiping sweat from his brow. "It should last longer now. The cracks are sealed, but you must replace the broken crystal soon. If not, it will weaken again." The guards exchanged uncertain looks. For the first time, their weapons lowered slightly. The princess stepped forward, her gaze fixed on the shining machine. For a moment, her mask of cold command slipped, and a flicker of relief crossed her face. She quickly hid it, turning back to him. "You did not fail," she said. "That is rare for one of your kind." Ryan smiled faintly. "Maybe you have not met the right kind." The princess narrowed her eyes at his boldness, but she did not raise her hand this time. Instead, she turned to her people. "The human has given light to the camp," she declared. "But one success does not erase the weight of history. He remains under my watch until his heart proves itself more than his hands." The people bowed their heads, though many of them now looked at Ryan with less suspicion. Some even showed faint smiles of gratitude. That night, when the camp glowed brighter than before, children gathered near Ryan, curious about his tools. They asked questions in broken words, pointing and laughing. For the first time, he felt less like a prisoner and more like a guest. From a distance, the princess watched. She saw how easily the children approached him, how naturally he answered their curiosity. It unsettled her. A human should not fit so smoothly into their world, yet he did. Later, as the stars filled the silver sky, the elder came to her. "You see now why he is dangerous," the old one warned. "He does not need weapons to conquer. He uses deeds, and soon hearts will follow him." The princess remained silent for a long time. Her eyes stayed on Ryan, who sat with children laughing around him. At last she whispered, "Then we must learn if his heart is true, or if it hides the same hunger as the rest of his kind." The trial of trust had begun, and though Ryan had won a piece of their respect, the true test was still ahead. The camp glowed brighter after Ryan repaired the Heartstone. Silver light poured from the crystal towers and warmth spread into every tent. The people looked more at peace, their faces softer than the night before. Yet behind the calm unease still lingered. The princess had not lowered her guard, and the elder's warnings echoed in her mind. Ryan spent the next day walking the camp under close watch. He studied their ways, how they used crystal energy not only for light but also for healing and defense. He admired their harmony with the strange land. Unlike humans who often bent worlds to their will, the princess observed him from a distance, careful not to let her people see doubt in her judgment. That evening, as the sky turned dark silver, Ryan adjusted the scanner in his pack. It picked up faint signals far beyond the valley. The readings troubled him, energy spikes that did not match the camp's systems. They were sharp, pulsing like weapons being charged. He frowned and turned the device off before the guards noticed. Later, when most of the camp rested, he approached the princess. She sat near a tall crystal fire, its silver flame dancing in the wind. Her guards stood close, but she gestured for them to step back when she saw Ryan approach. "You walk boldly," she said, her tone cool. "Do you forget you are still a stranger here?" "I do not forget," Ryan replied, "but I found something you should know. My scanner detected energy signals outside this valley. They are not from your Heartstone. They are from weapons, and they are moving closer." Her eyes narrowed. "Do you think to frighten us into trusting you? Humans have used lies before." Ryan shook his head. "I gain nothing from lies. If danger comes and I say nothing, your people suffer. If danger comes and I warn you, at least you can prepare." For a long moment, the princess said nothing. She studied him carefully, her violet eyes glowing faintly in the firelight. Finally, she spoke. "If what you say is true, then it is not your concern. These are my people. I will defend them." Ryan's jaw tightened. "If it concerns your people, it concerns me. I don't walk away from those in danger, even if they are not mine." The princess's expression shifted just slightly. She waved her hand, dismissing him. "Return to your post, human. I will see to it." Ryan obeyed, but unease gnawed at him. He had fought enough battles to know when war was near, and the signals he read were no mistake. Someone was coming, and they meant harm. That night, he could not sleep. He kept watching the horizon where the scanner had shown the spikes. The silence of the valley felt heavy, as if the world itself held its breath. Then it happened. A streak of fire lit the silver sky. Explosions shook the distant edge of the valley, and the sound of marching filled the air. Ryan jumped to his feet just as alarms rose across the camp. Warriors rushed to grab weapons. Children were pulled into tents, and the Heartstone pulsed wildly as defenses activated. The princess stood tall at the center of the chaos, her robe flowing like a banner. She gave command swiftly, her voice steady as her people obeyed without hesitation. Yet even in her strength, she could not deny the truth. Ryan's warning had been real. From the shadows of the forest emerged a rival faction of her own kind. Their armor was dark, their weapons blazing with stolen crystal energy. They shouted war cries as they charged, their eyes burning with greed. Ryan grabbed a fallen guard's spare weapon. It was heavy and strange, but he held it ready. He rushed to the front lines, ignoring the guards who shouted for him to stay back. "Stay behind," one of them yelled. "Not a chance!" Ryan answered, firing at the attackers. The weapon hummed and released a burst of silver light, striking an enemy soldier to the ground. The princess saw him fighting, his figure moving with skill and courage. She had expected him to run or hide, but instead he placed himself between her and danger. When an enemy charged at her flank, Ryan stepped in, blocking the blow with the weapon and striking back with fierce precision. "Go," he shouted to her. "Protect your people." "I'll hold them here." The princess hesitated, her hand half raised as if to command him to stop. But then she saw the determination in his eyes. He was not fighting for power, not fighting for conquest. He was fighting for them. With renewed fire, she turned back to her warriors, leading them in defense. The battle raged across the valley, light flashing against crystal towers, shouts and cries filling the night. Ryan fought tirelessly, his body bruised and burned, but his will unshaken. At last, after long struggle, the attackers retreated into the forest, leaving broken weapons and silence behind. The camp stood wounded but alive. Ryan collapsed to his knees, his chest heaving. The weapon slipped from his hand, glowing faintly. Around him the guards stared with disbelief. The human who was once their prisoner had fought harder than many of their own. The princess approached slowly. Her violet eyes met his as he looked up, sweat and dirt across his face. For the first time, she did not raise her hand in warning. Instead, she extended it toward him, not as a command but as a gesture of respect. "You fought with us," she said softly. "You bled with us. Perhaps I was wrong to see you only as a danger." Ryan gave a tired smile. "I told you. I don't walk away." The fire of battle still burned in the distance, but something had changed between them. The princess saw not just a human, but an ally. And though the threat was far from over, trust had begun to take root. The battle left the camp quiet but wounded. Smoke drifted across the valley, and the silver light of the Heartstone flickered as if tired from the strain of defending its people. Broken weapons lay scattered, and the air smelled of burned crystal and dust. Rian sat on a rock near the edge of the camp, his arms and chest sore from the fight. A thin cut stretched across his forehead, and his clothes were marked with scorch lines. He had faced danger before, but this battle had tested him harder than many. Still, he felt no regret. He had fought because it was right, not because anyone asked him to. The princess moved among her people, checking the wounded and giving orders to repair defenses. Her calm presence gave strength to those around her, yet her thoughts kept drifting back to the human who had risked himself for her and her people. At last, she approached him. 2 guards followed, but at a signal of her hand they stopped and stayed behind. She stood before Ryan, her violet eyes softer than before, though her voice still carried command. "You should be resting," she said. Ryan looked up at her with a faint smile. "I'll rest when your people are safe. Until then, I can help." "You already helped more than I expected," she replied. "Why did you not run?" "You had the chance when the attack began." He wiped the sweat from his brow. "Because running would mean leaving you to face it alone. And that's not something I do." Her eyes searched his face for any sign of pride or falsehood, but she found none. What she saw was simple truth, spoken without hesitation. For the first time since meeting him, she felt the edge of her distrust soften. When night came, the wounded were gathered in a large tent. The healers used glowing crystals to mend broken bones and close cuts, but their energy was stretched thin. The princess entered and was surprised to see Ryan inside, helping carry water and holding injured warriors steady while healers worked. One young soldier looked up at him weakly. "Why do you help us, human?" "We are not your kind." Ryan smiled gently. "Because pain is the same everywhere. A wound does not ask what kind you are before it hurts. Helping someone stand is never the wrong choice." The young soldier gave a small nod before closing his eyes to rest. The princess heard the words, and though she said nothing, they lingered in her mind. Later that night, Ryan sat outside near the silver fire, staring into the flames. The princess joined him, her steps quiet. She did not stand tall as she usually did, but sat across from him, letting the warmth of the fire soften the space between them. "You are not what I expected," she admitted. Rian looked at her curiously. "And what did you expect?" "A human who lies with sweet words. A wanderer who seeks power. A thief of stars," she paused, her gaze steady. "But you are none of those things. You fought as if our lives were your own." He gave a faint laugh. "Maybe your stories of humans aren't all wrong. There are people like that out there. But I've learned something in my travels. If you let the worst examples guide your judgment, you'll never see the good when it appears." She tilted her head slightly, considering his words. "And you believe you are the good?" "I don't claim to be perfect," Rian said honestly. "I make mistakes. But I don't walk away when I can help. If that makes me different, then so be it." For a long while, silence rested between them. The fire cracked softly and the night air carried the distant hum of the Heartstone. Then the princess spoke again, her voice quieter than before. "When I was younger, I was told to never trust humans. They said humans destroy what they touch. I believed it without question. But now I see. Perhaps not everything I was told is truth. Ryan leaned forward slightly. And what do you see now? Her violet eyes met his. I see someone who fights not for himself but for others. Someone who does not ask for reward. That is not what I thought a human could be. The words hung between them, heavier than any weapon. Ryan did not reply with pride or boast. Instead, he simply nodded, respecting the weight of her admission. The night grew colder, and the princess noticed Ryan shivering lightly. She rose, unclasped part of her silver-blue robe, and laid it gently over his shoulders. Ryan looked up in surprise. You do not need to. Her hand lifted lightly, stopping his words. You bled for my people. Accept this as thanks, nothing more. Ryan gave a small smile. Then I will accept it. She returned to her place by the fire, and for the first time her posture relaxed. There was no warning hand raised, no barrier of cold command, just two figures sharing the quiet warmth of the flame. The bond between them had begun to grow not of duty or command, but of respect earned in the heat of danger. The princess had started to see Ryan not as an intruder, but as something rarer, a human who could be trusted. And though neither spoke it aloud, both felt it. The divide between their worlds was narrowing, piece by piece, with every choice they made. The camp was slowly recovering from the attack, but the air remained heavy with fear. Warriors worked through the night to strengthen barriers. Elders whispered about enemies growing stronger, and children clung to their mothers with wide eyes. The rival faction would return, everyone knew it. The question was when. The princess stood inside the council tent the next morning. Around her, elders and commanders gathered in a circle, their faces lined with worry. The heartstone pulsed faintly in the center, its light dim from overuse. We cannot hold against another assault, said one commander. Our warriors are brave, but the enemy numbers are greater. We should retreat deeper into the mountains where their machines cannot follow. Retreat means abandoning the valley, another argued. Our ancestors built this camp around the Heartstone. If we leave, we lose more than ground. We lose our way of life. The princess listened without speaking. Her gaze moved from one speaker to another, her mind weighing each word. She understood the fear in their voices, but she also felt the weight of her people's eyes watching from outside. They needed a leader who chose with strength, not hesitation. At that moment, Ryan entered the tent under guard. His presence caused immediate murmurs among the council. Some frowned, others glared. A few even rose to their feet. Why is the human here? One elder demanded. This is our council, not his. The princess lifted her hand, silencing the voices. He fought with us when others might have fled. He may speak. The elder's jaw tightened, but he sat down. Ryan stepped forward, bowing his head slightly to show respect. I know I am not of your people, he said, but I have faced battles like this before. Your enemy will come again, stronger than before. If you retreat, they will only follow. If you hide, they will burn what you leave behind. Running will not save you. Some murmured in agreement, others in anger. One commander leaned forward. And what do you suggest, human? That we stand and die in the open? Ryan shook his head. Not die. Fight smart. You have crystal energy. I have human knowledge of tactics. Alone, each has limits. Together they can break your enemy. The princess studied him. Speak plainly. Ryan walked to the Heartstone and pointed at the crystal towers outside. Your defenses are strong, but they are fixed. Your enemy knows where to strike. Instead, we make the valley itself a trap. We reshape the crystals to channel energy into narrow paths, force the attackers into choke points, and strike them from above. We use smaller crystals to create sudden bursts of light to blind them. While your warriors move in the shadows, it will turn their numbers against them. The council erupted in argument. Some called it foolish. Others whispered it might work. This is madness, one elder snapped. Trusting a human to guide us will lead to ruin. Ryan met the elder's eyes calmly. You don't have to trust me, but trust what you saw. I stood with your warriors. I bled with them. I do not speak for conquest. I speak for survival. The princess raised her hand again and silence returned. Her violet eyes moved across the council, then back to Ryan. She could see the determination in his face, the same fire she had seen in battle. He was not asking for command out of pride. He was offering it because he believed it was right. Her people waited for her decision. The weight pressed heavy on her shoulders. If she chose retreat, they might survive but lose everything. If she chose to fight with Ryan's plan, they risked trusting a human, something she had been taught never to do. Slowly, she stepped toward the Heartstone. She raised her hand, and every elder, commander, and guard in the tent leaned forward. "Enough," she said firmly. "Fear does not guide us. We will not abandon the valley. We will not surrender what our ancestors built. We will fight, not as scattered voices, but as one." She lowered her hand, then turned to Ryan. "The human's plan will be heard. His knowledge will join with our strength. If he fails, the fault will be mine. But if he succeeds, it will be because we chose not to bow." The tent fell silent. Even the elders who doubted her did not dare to argue. Her words carried the weight of final command. Ryan bowed his head. "Then I will give everything I have." The princess looked at him steadily. For the first time, her gaze held not suspicion but trust. It was fragile, but it was real. She had risked her authority by siding with him, and he knew he could not fail her now. When the council ended, the princess walked beside him outside the tent. The silver sky above was calm, but both knew storms were coming. "You asked for a chance," she said quietly. "Now you have it." "Do not waste it," Ryan nodded. "I won't. Not for me, not for you, not for them." She studied him for a moment longer before turning away to rally her people. Ryan watched her, feeling the weight of the choice she had made. The princess had placed not only her people's fate, but her own honor in his hands, and he vowed silently that he would not let her regret it. The valley was tense as the first light of dawn touched the crystal towers. Warriors checked their weapons, and the Heartstone pulsed steadily, ready to respond to the coming attack. The rival factions' movements were visible now on the horizon, a dark wave of armor and energy surging toward the camp. The princess stood atop a small rise, overlooking her people. Her violet eyes were sharp and steady. She had trusted Ryan with her plan, and now the moment of truth had arrived. Every life in the valley depended on the decisions made in the next minutes. Ryan stood beside her, holding a human-designed crystal disruptor that glowed faintly with energy. His armor was scratched and scorched from previous battles, but his hands were steady. "They're coming," he said calmly. "We stick to the plan. Use the choke points, lead them into the traps, and let the light burst blind them." The princess nodded. "Then we begin. Today your courage will not only save lives, but also prove your heart." With a signal from her hand, the camp erupted into organized motion. Warriors moved silently along hidden paths, ready to strike. The children and non-combatants were escorted to safe crystal shelters. The elders remained near the Heartstone to maintain energy flow and provide guidance. The enemy entered the valley in waves, their weapons blazing and armor shining like dark fire. They had expected fear, hesitation, and retreat. They did not expect coordinated resistance. Ryan fired the disruptor from a ridge above, sending bright bursts of light into the enemy lines. Some soldiers shielded their eyes and stumbled. Others tried to regroup, but every move had been anticipated. The princess's warriors struck from the shadows, cutting off escape routes. The valley became a trap. The enemy funneled into narrow passages where their numbers counted for little. The princess fought in the front lines, her presence inspiring her people. She wielded a crystal blade that glowed like the Heartstone, striking with precision and grace. She moved beside Ryan at times, trusting his guidance yet relying on her own skill. Together they became a seamless force, human and alien working as one. The battle raged for hours. Sparks flew from clashing weapons, crystal energy cracked in controlled bursts, and cries echoed across the valley. Ryan dodged and struck, always watching the enemy's patterns. He called out instructions to the princess, who relayed them to her warriors. Every move was coordinated, every attack precise. At one point, a group of enemy soldiers broke through a weak point near the Heartstone. Ryan reacted instantly, rushing to block them. The princess followed, her blade slicing through the attackers with swift, decisive strikes. Side by side, they defended the Heartstone, each movement saving lives. Finally, the enemy realized they could not win. Their numbers were meaningless against the combined strategy and skill of the human and alien warriors. Retreat became their only option. They fled back into the distant forest, leaving broken weapons and smoldering trails behind them. The valley fell silent once more. Smoke rose into the silver sky, but the people of the camp stood victorious. The Heartstone pulsed steadily, glowing brighter than it had in days. The camp was safe. Ryan sank to his knees, exhausted, as the princess approached. She looked down at him. Her violet eyes softened, no trace of command in her expression. "You stood with us," she said quietly. Not as a guest, not as a stranger, but as one of us. You risked everything, and our people live because of you. Ryan smiled faintly, leaning on his disruptor. I told you I don't walk away from those in danger. I meant it. The princess knelt beside him, studying his face. I judged your kind by stories, she admitted. I thought humans were selfish and reckless. I see now that you can be honorable, courageous, worthy of trust. Ryan shook his head. It is not just me. Your people fought bravely too. You led them well. Without you, none of this would have worked. She extended her hand to him. Then accept this, she said, her voice calm. You touched the fate of my people, and I do not regret it. Ryan took her hand with care, feeling the weight of her words. It was more than respect. It was acknowledgement, the beginning of a bond that bridged two worlds. The people gathered around them, cheering softly but with deep relief. The children ran to their leaders, the elders whispered prayers of thanks, and the warriors sheathed their weapons, knowing the valley was safe once more. As the silver sun rose higher, Ryan and the princess stood together, looking over the camp. The bond formed in battle had grown stronger in victory. They had faced danger side by side and had come through it not only as allies but as equals who understood one another. The princess spoke softly, almost to herself. The human came to us as a stranger, yet he leaves as part of our story. Perhaps the universe is not as divided as I thought. Ryan smiled, feeling the warmth of acceptance. We may be from different worlds, but courage, loyalty, and heart, those are the same everywhere. The wind rustled the crystal trees, carrying the soft hum of the heartstone and the quiet song of life continuing. A new chapter had begun, one where trust could overcome fear, and where a human and an alien princess could stand together to shape the future.